In talking about intermodal, which what these gentlemen have just been talking a good bit about is mixed freight type and agriculture products. They also both deal a lot in intermodal, which is your container freight. When you see containers on chassis out on the interstate, that's container freight. A lot of that freight comes to us from trucking, our trucking partners in Mississippi and other states, to the railroad. We consider the truckers our partners, and they are our short line partners in trying to get the container freight from the shipper to the railroad. This is a slide. It says intermodal facility. I couldn't edit it. But this talks a little bit about what an intermodal facility is for a railroad. And it's what you would imagine if you had a truck playset at home. Short haul truck comes in. We have a chassis here, the yellow chassis, the yellow crane that loads the container, puts it on the chassis, double stack, and does the long haul. We consider long haul to be 700 miles or more. It doesn't make sense to take something from Tupelo, Mississippi to Memphis, Tennessee on a train. It would make sense for a truck to get it to a facility in Birmingham, in Memphis, and load it. This is a partnership of getting products from point A to point B using our trucking partners. You can compare this a little bit to your passenger. Many of you don't think of taking a trip as being intermodal, but when you drive your car and park at a train station and get on a train in order to take a train down to New Orleans to catch a ship on a cruise, you've just traveled intermodal. Same thing when you translate that from people, shipping freight people, we ship products this way, and that's how that looks. Now we have a full network, and in order to explain to you what an intermodal network looks like, I kind of need to draw a picture for you of what a railroad network looks like. This is 140,000 route miles of railroads in the United States of America. Yes, we do have railroad down here. And again, my map doesn't show up either, Joe. Down here, this is Alaska, and actually we do have railroad in Hawaii. The different colors represent different railroad individual companies. There's 7 Class 1s. They're the ones that you would recognize: Norfolk Southern, NS, BNSF, CSX, CN, CP, KCS, and UP. We play alphabet soup on the radio, on the railroad. But the way in which we ship is we each individually railroad have our own network that we connect or interconnect with other railroads to get your products to another part of the country or to a port to go internationally. This year alone, in 2015, the railroads collectively are investing $29 billion in our infrastructure to keep it maintained and to expand it, to increase capacity, and to maintain safety. So if you look at Mississippi, Mississippi has got a model state in terms of the amount of railroad network that you have. The different colors, again, are the different Class 1 railroads. The light gray lines are your short lines. Up here on your right, I just threw a few statistics so you'd have an idea of what kind of investment you have in your infrastructure, and it's very, very strong. 27 freight railroads, that's 5 of those are the Class 1s, the large ones. If you know it's a Class 1, if you see them run across your ticker tape on CNBC, that's generally a Class 1. Number of employees, railroad retirement, and rail traffic, just trivia for you to look. This is where our short line partners, much like our trucking partners, work with us. They're our first mile and last mile. You've got 22 short lines in the state of Mississippi that your legislature and your DOT strongly support and provide resources to. They are the economic backbone of your state, and they bring products from manufacturers to our Class 1 railroads, and then we can ship them anywhere in the world. So just to give you an idea, here's the Norfolk Southern footprint. We're east of the Mississippi. The Mississippi provides a natural barrier for railroads, obviously. You can only cross it in so many places. So this is what our intermodal network looks like for the southeastern United States. Norfolk Southern has created over the past 6 years 4 corridors of transportation that create specific lanes for products. This is considered the Crescent Corridor footprint. Its anchor comes out of New Orleans, but 2 of our key facilities are in Memphis and in Birmingham, and they serve your Mississippi market for intermodal traffic. Now I want you to take a notice, and you can see where our railroad tracks are, that they actually parallel interstates. And that's intentionally. We've developed those routes because those are actual trucking routes, long-haul trucking routes, that we're partnering with the trucking companies. So they do the short haul, and we actually do the long haul. When you're talking about development and maintaining roadways, for railroads, it costs between $3 to $5 million for 1 mile of single track, 3 to 5 million. For 2 lanes of interstate, flat, it's 25 million. 25 million in public dollar investment versus 3 to 5 million of private railroad money. Norfolk Southern is investing $2.9 billion alone in our network in 2015. That's private dollars. That's 40 cents per revenue dollar that we earn to maintain our own infrastructure. So it's a cost saving to taxpayers when you're able to ship by rail. So in looking at that type of map following the interstates, these are the key facilities along that route that are major hubs. It's sort of thinking about the Atlanta airport, where people feed into the Atlanta airport and then turn, spoke and wheel. That's how we operate these. Do you want me to tell some statistics?
Show the next slide you have there, which
and
is
then let me share with you KCS. KCS is a partner with Norfolk Southern in Mississippi. They have the only intermodal terminal in Mississippi. It's here in Jackson. So you can, unfortunately, their map that they provided me does not have the interstate parallels, but I think you know it well enough to see where they go. They actually have access down into Mexico, and then this is the Norfolk Southern line that goes through Atlanta and up. So we interchange in Meridian, Mississippi. And so they're able to serve there. For Norfolk Southern, your 2 major facilities for Norfolk Southern that serves the Mississippi market, one's in Memphis, which is the Memphis Regional Facility. It is currently at 123,000 lifts. That means lifts per container onto a chassis. And the capacity there is 200,000 per year. In Birmingham, our lifts are at 34,000 with a capacity of 100,000. And for KCS here in Jackson, they're at 22,500 lifts, and they got 31,700 capacity. So there's a lot of room for growth for intermodal traffic in the Mississippi market. We would all like to have it.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. Wilson, as a national carrier, I guess I'll get to know a little bit about what's going on in a lot of states, both with safety and travel issues. Can you basically give us just kind of a quick overview about how transportation infrastructure impacts the trucking industry?
Sure. Obviously, transportation infrastructure have a wide variety of impacts on the transportation industry. A couple of things Chip mentioned there. Roads and bridges that aren't up to capacity to accommodate trucking, 80,000 pounds. You mentioned harvest permit. We have some trucks in the forest products part. It's not seasonal. They run a harvest even more than 80,000 pounds year round. So anytime that has a delay, it can impact a carrier through cost, can impact the customer through not being able to get products they need. There's a wide variety. Poor roads can impact damage on product. If the conditions are bad enough, we have product damage claims at delivery due to poor roads. Safety issues, which I think we're going to talk a little bit more about.
Well, you mentioned those extra costs. I mean, I'm assuming I'm correct when you talk about there's lost productivity, there's added costs for repairs to trucks or damage to goods. I mean, that negatively impacts your customer, but ultimately the end consumer is also impacted in that process, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Poor roads will have a dramatic or exaggerated effect on maintenance, tires, wheels, suspension parts, steering parts, all of those things that normally may have when you buy have a certain life expectancy, but you run on a lot of bad roads for an extended period of time, and it shortens the life of all those parts, especially tires and wheels. In addition, roads to that type of cost, there's also, we've had workers' comp claims, injury from driver bouncing down the road is bad enough, that sort of thing. We've had, but most of the costs in the transportation business are mileage related. So anytime, if you can't use, as Chip was talking about this company having to run to Shelby County to get to another location, if you're adding miles You probably have a customer who doesn't want to pay you, they're looking at a map going, point A to point B, it's this many miles, this is what I ought to be charged. But you've got to run out of route or around a bridge, one of the 1,000 bridges that isn't adequate to support the 80,000-pound truck. More miles add cost to the industry. It can impact your customer, even your drivers. If a driver, a lot of times issues are not necessarily updated on maps or in GPS, so the driver doesn't know there's an issue till it gets to that point. He's got to reroute, detour, and go somewhere else, and it adds time. Now he can't make a delivery because he's limited on how many hours he can operate in a day or in a week. You have to reschedule that. Customer didn't get their product. Consumer maybe couldn't find it on the shelf. Customer lost some market share. It's a ripple effect that the transportation industry can have on the whole economic cycle.
Let's take about 1 minute and talk about safety. There's probably nothing more important to you than safety, correct?
Absolutely not.
Tell me a little bit about how road conditions play into that.
First priority for KLM, and I hope all trucking companies, is safety. We devote a lot of time and money in technology on our trucks to put the safest drivers and trucks we can out on the road. But if you're on a bad road, I think we've all been on some roads where heavy equipment has put ruts down the road that can cause somebody to lose control. Big potholes can cause a driver, not just a truck driver, any driver, to maybe have a blowout, lose control. Some of the things that I see that I know are helpful for us are reflective lane markers. Really help a driver at night be able to maintain lane integrity. Rumble strips on the shoulder, on the fog line, letting the driver know that he's drifted, are things that help us. All of those, anything that we can do with our highways or our bridges to make them safer for transportation are important to our industry.
When we talk about doing this, we're talking about a comprehensive look at transportation, not just roads, not just bridges. We understand that's the top priority that we face here in Mississippi, but there are a lot of other things that have to be taken in consideration. So as we move forward on this process, we're going to continue to keep everybody informed. We're going to continue to look at all options. The report that the Blueprint Transportation Study is doing will be released in November, and we'll have a whole lot more information there. We'll be sharing that with you along the way. Thank y'all for your time today. I hate to cut this off because it's been a great discussion.
Good morning. Tom Peters says good ideas are not a dime a dozen, they're a penny a pound. And they are. It's the implementation that's the really effective part. Well, to say that, the SWIB, and then I'm new with them, but I've been working with them for several weeks, is going to start the strategic planning process for workforce development in the state of Mississippi. And it has to be on the fast track because Mississippi is going to be an early implementer. And so we want a plan that touches as many people, involves as many organizations, workforce providers to try to get a plan, and not a plan that sits on the shelf, but one that we actually use as a roadmap. Which brings up the second component. Doug Hall, one of the great innovation engineers, says, in God we trust, all others must bring data. We want things to be validated that they actually work, that they're not just warm and fuzzy, but they work. And so that will be part of the plan is the implementation and also the performance. Mississippi does many wonderful things in workforce development. The shortcoming is we don't line them up in a strategic plan where one feeds the other. And that's what we're hoping to do, that bring the partners to do great things together, do a systematic approach to workforce development. Mississippi has never had a workforce system. They've had good workforce ideas. And so we want a systematic approach. And the plan will have many unique things, but some of the things that I personally will be interested in, I'll share these with you, is, first of all, I think in Mississippi we've got to get internships or apprenticeships established for technical programs. We've already started doing this with, for example, in my former job, we worked with Toyota to develop a program called Advanced Manufacturing Technician. This is where young people came to school 2 days a week and then worked at the plant site in the job that they're training for 3 days a week. This was a 2-year program. At the end of that program, not only had they have their education, they had 2 years work experience, and they were paid while they were doing this. As a result of that, we saw retention rates in the program up in the 90%, graduation rates in the 90%, and the application pool coming into the program, last year we took no student less than 21 on the ACT. Now that tells you we're starting to reach the right people because we need the best and the brightest in these middle skilled jobs because 65% of all the jobs in the next 10 years are in the middle skills. So it's important that we do that. Another thing is we want to be career awareness. People know the opportunities, also know what it takes to get there. One of the things I hear all the time is we can't find qualified workers. Well, what does it look like? What do they look like? And that's the question we've never asked. What does a qualified worker look like? What academic skills do they need? What technical skills do they need? People call what necessary skills, and what I mean necessary skills, people say soft skills. If you're in a plant and a third of your workforce doesn't show up for work that day, is that a soft skill or a necessary skill? Well, when I was out there, it was a necessary skill. So we need to change the terminology from soft skills to necessary skills. And we think that needs to be a part of all of our training programs, that show up on time, be an engaged employee, be polite, be courteous, know your value in the organization. And these are things that we hope to build into it. Also, we're looking to develop an integrated pathway. Now, this is a model developed out in Washington State, and Dr. Deborah West with the Mississippi Community College Board has been leading the charge on this. If you look at our workforce, the vast majority of people in our workforce are already in it. For the next 20 years, they're already in the workforce. A large part of our population does not have a high school diploma. So how do we get them to where they can be a productive citizen and have a quality of life that's worth living? You know, get them out of poverty. Well, the integrated pathway is where we take people and bring them into a career and technical program, a specific program that's got a job attached to it at the end, get them their literacy skills, hope they get their GED and their career and technical training at the same time. Do it on a fast track, get them in and get them out and get them a job. Because people who are adults got to have a living. They can't spend 2 years a lot of times. If they can spend a semester or a year, we hope that they can get that job. And as we build through the pathway, the farther they go, hopefully the more money they can make. This is to be done with cooperation with the community colleges, Mississippi Development Authority, Adult Basic Education, with the WIN Job Centers. We want everybody to come together to use braided funding to develop outcomes that we want to reach. This is part of the WIO law, and in certain parts of the state, they've already been doing this. One of the things that we know, and I've done this from practical experience, I've been working with it for many years, the training matched with a job where the person gets to participate in that job while they're doing the training is much more effective. People stay, they understand it, and the companies like it because they have input on what shaping that person. We think it's going to be very important for the state of Mississippi. I'm excited about the opportunity. I'd be glad to answer any questions for you. I'd like to close with my favorite line from my favorite poem. It says, "I'm the captain of my fate, I'm the master of my soul." In Mississippi, we can do anything. Sometimes we take a back seat and we'll say, we're not this, we're not that. I've never seen a group of Mississippians that couldn't accomplish something if they put their minds to it. I'm looking forward to us to have an innovative, creative plan and working with a lot of partners. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so very much. What an incredible panel. And I will have to say, when I was sitting over there, one of the things that occurred to me, and we heard about these great programs around the state, and the presenters gave you pretty much the details of what they do. But if you get a chance to talk to any of these people, they have such a passion for this. I know that every night they can go to bed and sleep well knowing that they have done work in our great state to change lives, and that's what you're doing, and we appreciate you for what you do. So let's give them another round of applause for all that they do.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, as we get very close to having our keynote speaker, we hear a special address from a man who really needs no introduction, but I will tell you, he is a man who sets a very high bar. He is a man who believes in setting high goals and then doing what he promises. He's the leader of our state. He's focused on improving education, working in partnership with the legislature. He's focused on improving economic opportunities, working in partnership with the legislature. And he's focused on making sure that everybody in Mississippi who wants a job is darned well going to be able to get one, and a good paying one at that. Please join me in welcoming the governor of our great state, the Honorable Phil Bryant.
Oh, no, I'm good. Oh, good afternoon. Thank you so much. I know you needed that stretch. How about Coach Carter? Yeah. Coach, the great sports announcer now, and Coach Lou Holtz once was asked what does it take to be a great sports announcer? He said, well, it's kind of like being a politician. You just start talking till you think of something to say. Well, I know what I want to say here today to MEC and to all of you. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of this great organization. A state cannot survive, they cannot endure without a chamber. Think, if you will, for just a moment, what this state would look like without an MEC. This room today would be dark and empty. There would be no leaders to help the Mississippi legislature understand from the grassroots, from the smallest of businesses to the most successful in the state, what it really takes to create the best of environments for businesses in this wonderful state of ours. There would be no 17,000 jobs that have been created and $2.4 billion worth of investment in the last 3 years without an MEC. Our unemployment rate would not be down to 6.8% from 9.5% if it were not for MEC. We would not be a top 10 state for economic development according to Area Development Magazine if it was not for MEC. MDA, our great team of economic developers and job creators at MDA, would not be number 9 in the nation without MEC. Now, it's great to have a top 10 football team, and we had a couple for a couple of weeks. And we all celebrated that, but it's even more exciting to me to have my MDA team be number 9 in the nation and moving up. Without MEC, I can assure you we would not be number 5 in the nation for the growth of women-owned businesses. Let that sink in for a few moments. Number 5 in the nation, ladies, for women-owned businesses. Thank you for being job creators, ladies. Without MEC, according to Kipler's, we are number 4 in the nation for the most tax-friendly business environment. Without MEC, this would not be the number 1 place in America to practice medicine. That's right. According to Physician Practice Magazine, go Google it, this is the best state in America to practice medicine. As we were traveling the state on our health care huddles, we told time and time again disbelievers that that was true. And I know a lot of them went outside and said, oh, no, let me Google that. And as surprised as they may have been, was just as happy as I was to know that that would be true. Without MEC and the star students and teachers that were here today, how about those kids? 36 on an ACT? I was trying to do the math, but I think if you doubled mine, I would get there. Remarkable future that we have. Just the other day, I was in Madison County at Madison Central, and they have over 100 students that are in the 30-plus club. Now, at my age, you think 30-plus, that means we're getting older. No, those kids made 30-plus on their ACT, over 100 of them in one high school. Remarkable things happen here. Without MEC and the legislature's help and the leadership of this state, we would not have Dr. Condoleezza Rice, who's board chairman of the Foundation for Excellence in Education, recently stated that Mississippi is quickly becoming the next great American success story in education. Condoleezza Rice. So thank you, MEC. Now, I know you came here to hear our fellow Mississippian, David Abney. David was born in Cleveland, Mississippi. He's from Greenwood, but he's kind of like me. I'm from Moorhead, Mississippi. Now, luckily, they had a clinic in Moorhead, Dr. Phillips did, and I was delivered there. But David and I think he may have had to go to Cleveland and find a hospital in those days. But what a success story you'll hear from this man who believed that he could do great things, as we have a tendency to do here in the state of Mississippi. Economic development was said earlier so properly by David Gates, is a team sport. But every team's got to have a leader. Now, I like to think I'm a coach. Let's use a football analogy because I love to do it. You know, I try to get on the sidelines and call the very best plays I can. I try to make sure that we go out and recruit the best people that we can. I try to create an environment where the very best want to come to our state and begin their businesses. We've been pretty successful at doing that. But we've always had a good quarterback, if you will. Brent Christensen did a remarkable job of running the plays, making the scores. But he had a team behind him at MDA. So very proud of the job that they have done and are doing. So, as you know, our quarterback got recruited. That's all right. They don't recruit quarterbacks from losing teams. When you're really successful, folks come after you, and let them come, because we're going to continue to be more successful each and every day. The message here today is that Mississippi is growing, that we have a successful business economy. If you look at a CEO like David Abney today is not only bragging about Mississippi because he's from here, but he knows the reality of the success that we've had. That's very good news from one of the nation's best business leaders.
You mentioned opportunity in online retailing and how Mississippi can develop. How does that go forward with your workforce development initiative?
Well, it's critical that we have a trained workforce. If you look at the exports, over 380% growth in the last 10 years. That means shipping, the ports got to be in the area that we needed in that portion of development along the Mississippi Gulf Coast and throughout the Mississippi River Basin, but also the ability to have a robust air service in and out of the state of Mississippi. That's something we've got to work on. UAVs, UASs are capabilities in the future. So we, I believe, are in position well to be taking advantage of these opportunities with exports.
One of MEC's issues was transportation improvement. Your feeling on the critical link between transportation improvement and economic development in Mississippi?
Well, it's just critical, and you have to look at all facets of it, not only over the road transportation, but rail is coming back. We thought rail had been forgotten, and now we're working very hard to make sure that we have that capability. Again, our air service is not where it should be. You can't get CEOs in and out of your state. They won't come and stay here. Our ports are in a very robust position to be able to move, particularly with the widening of the Panama Canal. We've just got to realize that the investments that we make in business will return in the future.
Your reaction to everything you've seen and heard here today?
Well, it's very exciting. Again, to see that MEC's growth, 2,200 people at this luncheon. I can remember the time there were maybe 300 or 400 that would come. We thought that was a big crowd. This is to a new level with a state chamber of commerce. Blake Wilson and his team has done a remarkable job. I'm very proud of it.